Hi and welcome to a brand new Writers Lounge podcast. This is actually going to be something a little bit different. I'm going to call this one Shed Talk. So I'm going to do a new series on Shed Talk. Why Shed Talk? I've said it 3 times now. I'm going to give you a good answer. That's what Dad called it when I was swearing at home on the farm. Don't bloody say that, mate. That's Shed Talk. For fuck's sake, Dad. Fuck. Yeah, that's a good example. Shed Talk. Why am I calling it that? Because basically this is going to be, let's say, a little bit of a series that will go on and on, where I don't need to worry about bringing in a guest, doing interviews, doing reviews, previews, wrap-ups, all that sort of thing. This is going to be a little bit different. This is talking about kind of what's going on in the world of FMX and just my musings on it. And it serves 2 purposes. One, it gets some info out to you guys that probably otherwise wouldn't get out there if you haven't seen it on Instagram, because that apparently is the place where everybody still is. That's probably going to be a topic for another day. Why is Instagram still the main place for freestyle motocross? I feel like I've turned off of Instagram myself. I'm more on YouTube. And I think that's because I've actually paid for YouTube Premium. And the only reason I paid for YouTube Premium was because Clint Esposito and we were doing the Throwback Thursdays. And we couldn't do a throwback video where we were both watching a YouTube video and ads kept coming on. I'm like, well, that doesn't really make sense. So I'm paying the hefty price of, I don't know, 10 euros a month, something like that. But I'm pretty pumped with it. I've got it. I hate doing this crap. I hate paying for subscriptions. But I've kind of found with YouTube Music, it's better than Spotify. I get to watch anything I want on YouTube without the ads, which annoys the hell out of me, even if we're not doing the Throwback Thursdays. And I've kind of, I don't know. It kind of led to me not sitting on Instagram that much. So I have missed a fair bit of news and I have missed a fair few things, but it is what it is. So that's kind of what you've just heard, a full example of what Shed Talk will be. Dribbling shit, which is Shed Talk, and kind of giving you guys a bit of an update, because this is the other part of social media, or how we get our news in FMX or anything anymore, because everything's so disjointed. So for you guys who do listen to podcasts, thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing or following or whatever it is. Even if you don't, it really doesn't worry me too much how you get it, but as long as you get it, that's the main thing. But it's kind of that piece of the puzzle where I was thinking about where magazines were. We all used to buy a magazine. We all had the same news. We all knew what was happening at the same time. Now we don't. Nobody knows what's going on. Anyway, what am I going to talk about today? Well, kind of what's been going on in the last little while in events. And, well, firstly, I'll probably say, why haven't you got a podcast from me? And I looked back through, and the last one I did, I think it might have been when Jo passed away, or maybe there was one more podcast after that. But I decided to hit the eject button. With Jo passing away, it was tough. And I saw in the last couple of days, Cam Sinclair put up that it's been 3 months, which is absolutely insane. It still surprises me that he's not here, but it also, I saw a quote. I saw something from Alejandro Bonifay, who's a mountain bike rider. What did he say yesterday? It was something like disconnect to reconnect. And I kind of found I needed that myself. So I kind of disconnected a little bit to reconnect. And this Shed Talk series will become part of that, the reconnection. Go back a little bit into the audio only. I may put this up on YouTube, but what I'm thinking I'll do to make this easier is just to have raw footage or some kind of footage playing, and this audio is just over the top, just because that's what YouTube wants. So, got to play with the thing. And plus, actually, now Google Podcasts is finished. So if you've been listening to this podcast on Google Podcasts, Google, one of the biggest companies in the world, it's gone. Well, the podcast is anyway. So Google Podcasts have now been moved into YouTube. Yeah. So that one surprised me a little bit. And kind of maybe that's why I'm starting to feel like YouTube's been a good subscription. I don't know. Maybe they've somehow infected my mind that it's a good idea. I don't know, but I'm kind of coming on board with it. So Jo, it's been 3 months now. I disconnected. I'm now reconnecting. And I'll talk a little bit about that coming up shortly as well. But where am I right now in the world, you might be asking? Well, actually, I'm about to do a hosting gig. I'm in Barcelona right now, looking over the beach. I'm in my hotel room that I've got for a couple of days. I haven't told anybody that I'm here because I just wanted to just chill, get out of the office, get away from home. Not that I don't want to be at home. I love being home. But there's too much work there. So I knew I was coming down for this show. I came down a couple of days earlier. I'm sitting on a beach. I haven't told any of the riders that are coming that I'm here. I know they're all... I saw that Wanky and Andreu and I think Adolf might have been at the Yada compound with Pignol yesterday. So the fear of missing out, the FOMO, is kicking in hard because I didn't know everyone was going to go riding. I said nothing because I just wanted to sit on the beach and chill. And then I saw everybody's riding at the Lightest compound. So I'm pissed about that now. That was my own dumb fault. And I think they're going to go riding motocross tonight at Rocco's Ranch, which is right next to the MotoGP. And that's why I'm in Barcelona. So the MotoGP Monster Energy FMX Show will be going down this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you are in Barcelona or Spain or in Europe in general, make sure to come to that show. I came here last year, completely unannounced. I never expected it, but I'm so pumped that I was asked to come and host with the two Spanish commentators who killed it. Don't get me wrong. They were freaking awesome. I was just the English guy talking about the actual FMX. So I think they do a lot of different action sports. And of course, being Spanish, speaking to the local Spaniards, but there are a lot of internationals at MotoGP. It is a huge race, and I didn't appreciate how fast, how crazy it is, what those guys do. Like, man, watching them coming into corners, out of corners, on the straights, those bikes are so freaking fast. But yeah, the Monster Energy show last year was huge. It was the first time I met Axel Hodges in person. The dude threw down. Andre Villa and all those guys last year was awesome. And they have asked me to come back again this year. So that's what I'm doing right now. Just chilling out for a couple of days, getting a couple of things with work done before the show. I've actually got completely sunburnt. I went down onto the beach for the last couple of hours, got absolutely roasted, and then the clouds rolled in. So I came into the room, it started raining a little bit. I saw some videos of Villa and the guys setting up the ramps. It was windy as hell at the track. The rain rolled in, came up to the room. I thought, yep, perfect time to do a podcast. And now I'm looking out and it's sunning. It's sun Oh my God, what's wrong with me? Oh, it might be those two beers I had for lunch. The sun has come out. It is sunny. The sunshine is out. Fuck, what was I trying to say? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, here I am, ready to host year 2 for me at the Monster Energy MotoGP FMX show. And this year, actually, I do have a riders list. I saw a whole bunch of names in the WhatsApp group. And I do have a little confirmation here. What are the names? All right. So this is who's going to be riding this weekend. Andre Villa, Vicky Golden, Axel Hodges, Wanky, Genki Watanabe for those out there playing, Marcus Olsen on the snowmobile, Adolf Silva, Andreu Lecondaguy, and Julian Van Stippen. So that's a hell of a lineup right there. Like, I need to do my homework before the show, because how many X Games gold medals do you think is in that list? Axel would have... How many does Axel have? 1, 2? I don't know. Wanky, I think Wanky has a best whip gold medal. Julian's got an X Games gold medal, best whip. Villa. Does Villa have a X Games medal? This is the problem with not having a good memory. I know some people out there, like, I was just talking to Squibby before, and he was telling me this story. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard that story before. And I'm like, that's the thing. It's good for most people that I forget a lot of stuff, good and bad, mostly bad. Yeah, I completely forgot. Like, I can kind of remember the big things. The big standouts, yeah, I can remember that, but the small stuff, it just passes me by, and it's not like my brain's working overtime, but it just kind of disappears into the ether. But yeah, this weekend, 3 days of shows, 2 shows a day. There are a lot of big whippers in that group. Who did I just say? That's how bad my memory is. I can't even remember. Villa can crank a whip. Vicky Golden can whip. Axel can whip. Wanky can whip. Marcus Olsen on the snowmobile. He whips bigger than I've ever whipped, I think, in my entire life on a dirt bike. He did it last year, actually, at this event. That was the first time I saw him try to do a whip on a snowmobile. And we were like, oh my God, that is huge. Like, can you do it again? And he did, and it got fucking out of control. I think he might have even crashed one. He was getting way too big. But yeah, he's got a massive whip. Who else? Andreu Lecondaguy. He's got some massive whip for a mountain bike rider. And this is a freestyle motocross podcast. And if you're not sure who that name is, Andreu is one of the biggest names in mountain bikes. But I'd say he's probably like 99% now full-time pro FMX rider. And Julian Van Stippen, he had, in my opinion, up until probably this year, the biggest whip we've ever seen, ever. So that is a whip-heavy show that's coming up this weekend. A lot of big tricks, though. There'll still be some big stuff, especially with Villa. That dude can still throw out one of my favorite tricks ever, which is an underflip. His are massive. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more coming into, because we've got X Games. There is an X Games list out, and I'll do a review on that very shortly, probably in the next week or two, because we've got an X Games invite list. There's the Night of the Jumps invite list. I might even throw the names out on that in the middle of all of this. And I'll probably jump on a podcast with Clint Esposito and talk about X Games. So I'll probably leave that one for a little bit later. What else is coming up? Well, one of the big things I want to talk about on this particular episode is the next gen. So Night of the Jumps is coming. we've got an event next weekend. We're in Bremen. Actually, I do... You know what? I'm just going to get to the riders list on that one. Let me just go into my emails because, again, I've completely forgotten who will be there. I mean, I'll remember it, but it's going to take me a long time, and there's going to be a lot of ums and ahs, and you're going to think that I've lost my mind. Yeah, there you go. There's one Right, so this is a short one. This is a quick one. Night of the Jumps riders list for Bremen round 2. We've got 6 rounds of Night of the Jumps this year in the German-speaking countries alone. I just got news the other day that it looks like China is very much looking like it will be on again. Finally! We were supposed to be in China, in Wuhan, in December 2019. Then it was supposed to be January 2020. Well, we would have been sick little tuckers if we went to that one. But unfortunately, it was postponed and then cancelled. I wonder why. I'm going to get into that because most people will take it politically. I will not. I'm just going to say it kind of got a little bit out of control after that. Right. Who will be in Bremen next weekend? We've got Luke Ackerman, the reigning world champion. Michael Malero, 5-time world champion. Mark Pignol. Mate Chesak, who won Best Whip last year. Every event bar one when he's KTM 300 at the time because he had the 300 kit on it. She blew up. It decided it wasn't going to go anymore, and it blew up. Philip Podmol. Libor Podmol, he is also a world champion. I think 2010, Libor was the world champion. Pepper Aaron. Far out. How many Czech riders have we got? We've got 4 riders from the Czech Republic coming to the next event. Oh my God. Czech. That is half of the field will be Czech Republic riders. That is insane. And I've said this for a long time, like Australia, I am very biased, I know, but we do have the best riders in the world. But Spain, Czech, and America, probably Brazil, they're probably like the biggest country, and Japan as well. They would be like the biggest countries in the world for producing so many freestyle motocross riders. Throw in Italy as well if you want. One more rider, Mikołaj Temka from Poland will also be there in Bremen. And we do have one reserve rider, that is Nico Perrier. He'll be a reserve rider. So Night of the Jumps next weekend will be very much different from what you've seen in the last 3 years. We've had the Freestyle of Nations or the World Team Challenge, whatever you want to call it. That has been the main focus for Night of the Jumps since Corona, since COVID times. The World Championship, we had to put that on pause. It was on hiatus. We started this year in Munich 2 months or 1 month ago, whenever it was. That was a team competition, but in Bremen, I think we're finally able to go back to the old school solo competitions, which it should be, where we've got the best riders in the world throwing down, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. And I will do a separate podcast on this because we haven't even got that. Well, it is relatively finalized, but there are a couple of small pieces to the puzzle that we just need to nail down before I talk about it, or at least before I'm allowed to talk about it. But it will be 8 riders, solo comp, with a qualifier and a final. Night of the Jumps is... We have done that in the past, but it was with like a top 6 final. But the way that the riders get there will be a little bit different in Bremen next weekend. I can't wait to do it. I I like to see different events or different formats to events. So this one's going to be quite interesting for me. And the second part of Night of the Jumps next weekend is we will be bringing the next gen ramp again. So last year in Munich was the very first time at Night of the Jumps we had the next gen ramp. Now, those ramps are like 5 years old. We built that in 2019 for the Red Bull Dirt Diggers. So Night of the Jumps built 2 ramps. We saw Pat Bowden doing massive cliffhanger flips way back then. And I think only 4 riders out of 10 jumped it. I think it was Pat Bowden, Jared McNeil, Kai Haase from Germany, and Jamie Squibb from England. And the whips from Jared, Kai, and Squibby were nuts. Like, they just came over and like, that ramp is so good to whip on. Then we saw Pat, just the trick machine, destroying it. That was when we first built the ramps. Then we put them into the warehouse because at the time we didn't really have the landings to suit the jump. The jump was too big and the landings were not safe enough. Now we've got the big airbag landings with the wedge as well. We tried it last year with Harry Bink. We didn't have the wedge for that particular event. And Harry's like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. Just lay it down flat. I don't care. I'll just send it onto a regular ramp. And he did. But if you do remember, Harry things went wrong all round for him at that event in Munich. It was the first Night of the Jumps. His run was looking good. He went for a one-handed knack backflip on, I think it was his 5th jump, just before he was about to attack the next gen. And the bike just cut out as he went off the lip. So he went to flip. There was no pull. There was no engine. She just died on him. And it was one of the ugliest crashes ever. And that was where that big airbag landing died. I'm not going to say that it absolutely saved his life. We have seen lots of bad crashes that people get up from. But they would have been horrendous injuries, if not. Like, it was a bad crash. It could have killed him. And he got up and he walked it off. Very disappointed, but also very happy that he walked away. But he came with one goal in mind, and that was to send the next gen all the tricks that he had on it. He had some big plans. He told me about it. But I'm sure we'll see what he wanted to do in the very near future off of that ramp. So we then didn't have it for the next couple of events last year at Night of the Jumps. We didn't bring it to Munich this year. It was the very first event. We just wanted to chill a little bit, and we had some other format changes in Munich, and it worked really well. But coming into Bremen, coming into round 2 next weekend, we're bringing that ramp back. And the best part was, and the real reason is, Masters of Dirt, they brought the next gen to their show. I think it was in Vienna, the big one where kind of all the riders all want to go to Vienna. And they turned up and there was a next gen sitting there waiting for them. And by the time the guys who rode MOD, who then came to Night of the Jumps, like Philip Podmol and Matej Cezak, were like, hey, have you got the next gen here this weekend? That ramp was sick at MOD. I'm like, no, we don't, because no one else jumped it last year. And I just wanted to give them kind of this half of the first part of summer in Europe to get used to that ramp, and then we'd set it up and let them go for it. And they're like, no, we jumped it at MOD, and it was awesome. The hang time allowed them to just do their tricks bigger, feel better, which was the entire idea that Levi Sherwood had when he designed that ramp, 6 years ago now? So with them being pumped on it, Pignol having one at home, I thought, you know what? Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. So Bremen will be the first time that we've got a few riders who genuinely are able and ready to send that ramp, which is, I'm really interested. Like, the other guys want to jump it as well, but there's not that many ramps getting around. Like, that, it's slowly becoming a norm. No, it's not even a normal. It's not normal. Put it that way. There's only a few ramps that have been built. That is the hard part of this jump. So, yeah, but Pignol's got one at the Yeda compound. I guess he's been practicing on it. And I just got a message as well from Mikołaj Temka. And if you don't know that name, if you don't know who I'm talking about when I say Mikołaj Temka, he is from Poland. His name on Instagram is Zapsa FMX, ZAPSA _FMX. And he's like building every ramp at his compound and just sending whatever he wants to do. Like, it's cool to see a new young rider with that kind of attitude to just try new things into the foam pit. So yeah, he's pumped. He can't wait to send it as well on the next gen. So it's slowly coming around. So thanks to MOD putting it into their show, that a couple more of the Euro guys had to jump it for the show. Squibby was telling me, like, he was looking forward to it because he jumped it at Red Bull Dirt Diggers with us. And so he'd already had time on the ramp a few years ago, turned up to Vienna, and his fuel pump on the Kawasaki decided it wanted to shit the bed. So he missed the training session pretty much, just caught a little bit of extra training for him. And he's like, yeah, I was a little bit nervous. He got a couple of flips in, and then in the end, he was going for it as well on that ramp. But with that, it just gives that little bit extra confidence to everybody to say, yeah, let's go. Let's do it, because everything's going to be bigger. Everything's going to be better. And isn't that what you want at a competition? And isn't that what we want to see as fans? I'm a fan. I just want to see cool new stuff. So yeah, that's what's happening. And actually, speaking of those kind of events who are bringing these ramps, we've also got Freestyle Kings in Australia. They've just finished a massive tour getting around. I saw, again, Pat Bowden sending it on that ramp. Actually, I think all of the riders. Callum Shaw has impressed the absolute hell out of me. From New Zealand, but living in Australia, living there at Shuey's old place. He has really stepped it up. And the tricks that I'm seeing out of Callum on that ramp are just, man, I'm so pumped for him. I did a tour with him and Shuey, crisscrossing Australia, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. And to see him still sending it and actively still pushing new tricks, I love it. I love seeing that. On a ramp, like, he's an old man now. Like, he should be probably looking at retirement, but he's still pushing it, and that's the cool part about it. So Freestyle Kings have got it down there in Australia. They're getting into it. MOD, Night of the Jumps here in Europe. Of course, Nitro have been doing it for ages. So it feels like it's slowly becoming a bit of a norm, but yeah, it just takes time to get the ramps built all around the world for everybody to get used to it. That's all it is. It's just logistics, pure and simple. And what else is happening? I was talking about Clint Esposito before. We did a podcast the other day. I was hoping that would have been up. That was going to be the podcast that kind of broke my little silence, my radio silence here, because we have been doing a lot with Clint. With the Throwback Thursdays, we did put a little pause on only because we had I had Night of the Jumps in Munich. He then the next weekend had his own event in America for amateur freestyle riders, plus the pit bikes and Harley Davidsons and him jumping his Harley. He's got I think it's the XR 750, kind of basically the same as what Evel Knievel used to jump. So he was doing his own demos or his own jumps on that bike at his own show, and he's trying to organize podcasts, and he's trying to organize the videos that we do together. Well, I'm going to throw it out there. He's kind of burning the candle at both ends, could you say? Because I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Krusty's back. Now, I know you'll say Krusty's been back and they've burnt some bridges with shows in Australia and New Zealand. Yep, but that's not really Crusty. That's a promoter, a local promoter who is not Crusty, who has licensed the name. But Clint is now working with John and Dana directly. And I just saw that Crusty 1 is on YouTube for free. How freaking good is that? I'm fucking pumped. I'm gonna throw it out there on Shed Talk. I'm fucking pumped that Crusty 1 is up there. Not an awful lot of views because I guess this is fresh. Who would have thought that Crusty would do that? Because I remember going to the shop when I don't even know how old. I was a young little tucker back then. But yeah, it's up there for free. And maybe 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 5 was Crusty 2000, but yeah, we'll call it Crusty 5. I guess maybe they'll all come out in the future. That would be awesome. And I think actually Clint even had a viewing party with the riders who were actually in that movie. I think he's put that back up online as well. So Crusty is back in a completely different way, and I'm very excited to see if that helps to change the feelings, the narrative of what happened in the last couple of years. You can't sugarcoat it. There was some big fuck ups there on the side of the local promoter, and I definitely can't justify what they did. But from John and Dana, who have still kept the brand going, I'm freaking pumped that they're still there and they're still smashing it. Because I've got a lot of messages. I didn't realize that after the big schmozzle that went down one year, I promoted the next one just through Riders Lounge. I said, this is cool. They're back with a new promoter, and turns out, no, I think it was an old promoter was trying their luck again, and had a couple of riders let me know. So yeah, that's kind of the politics of it. But from my side, directly to you as fans, I hate the politics. What I want to see is my favorite riders in cool videos. That's kind of what we all want to see. So this is the good part about me forgetting most things. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And I think with a new direction, Clint is involved now with helping to break the social media absence from those guys. I can't wait to see what happens. Like, it's a very positive turn for Crusty Demons. So well done to them. Well done to Clint. And I can't wait to see what those guys can produce. Hopefully we see more things in the future. Not that it's just the old stuff. Maybe we get some new stuff. I don't know. I don't know. It could be a controversial point of view to say that. But like I said, I always look for the positives, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They have been incredibly good for the sport. Hey, I was even in 2 of the videos. I didn't get my name in there. I'm just throwing that one out. So John or Dana, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't know if you do if it's like Star Wars where they re-release things, but if you do ever do a re-release, I think it was Crusty 14 and Crusty 15 or 15 and 16. I managed to get in there for 2 split seconds, maybe. My name wasn't on there. So when I'd have to pause it and like we'd all get up close to the TV and squint. And I'm like, yep, that's me right there. I do remember I had one of my biggest crashes was on a step down at Shuey's place. And I was watching the helicopter circle around. I'm like, yep, that's cool. Because I'm pretty sure, I think it was Dana was hanging out the side of the heli. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be sick. I'm going to just hit this 3rd gear step down. And I hit it. I went so deep, but I drifted to the left-hand side, hit the rough stuff, and I just got absolutely high-sided, and I just went splat into the ground, rung my bell so bad, and I got up and I'm like, fuck it, the helicopter's up there. At least they got the shot. I'm in Crusty. I don't care. They sat the helicopter down, and Dana's like, oh, yeah, no, I missed that shot. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I just crashed my brains out for Krusty's. And all he got was like me walking to the bike that was laying on the ground and a few of the boys around me. That was my first ever Crusty shot. Fucking hell. And it ain't going to get any better. Anyway, guys, this is 30 minutes, probably over 30 minutes. The sun has come out. Everybody's down on the beach again, walking around. Oh, Guardia Civil. Oh, the police are just driving past on the beach. Maybe I won't go down there. Nah, fuck it. I'm going to go down to the beach. I've got 24 hours now. Less than 24 hours until rehearsals for this Monster Energy FMX show at MotoGP Catalonia here in Barcelona, Spain. And I need to rest my voice if I'm going to try and get through 3 days of going right over the top. That's not even how you do it. Right, so this is going way off topic. So to all the Australian listeners of this podcast, if you're older than 35, maybe 30, you've probably heard of The 12th Man. And it's this comedy series of the cricket commentary team in Australia. And it was an absolute piss take of the real commentary team of the most boring sport in the world. It's a sport, if you don't know what cricket is a game that is played up to 5 days. And after 5 days, there could still be a draw. It's that fucking boring. But I love it because you can drink for 5 days and have a relatively good excuse that you were sitting down for 8 hours a day watching, bunch of guys standing around a big field hitting one red ball around. Anyway, the I don't even know what the point of that story was. Okay, so the reason I love commentary is I used to listen to the 12th Man cassettes at the time, then CDs, and now I just listen to it on my phone. I used to listen to that as like a 10-year-old kid over and over. I would go to sleep listening to it, and I've just the quips in there, the jokes, the one-liners, the play on words. It was fucking brilliant, and it was all about commentary and all about hosting shows, and that's what actually gets me excited. And when I first started commentating real shows, like real live stream Night of the Jumps events, I was actually listening to the 12th Man before it just to get that the juices flowing of what a commentator would say when something happens in, I shouldn't say what they say because it was all dick jokes and fart jokes and all that sort of stuff. It was fucking awesome. But I definitely can't do it in a professional manner, but for fun on the side, why not? All right, guys, that's enough. I'm starting to ramble. I'm going to go hit the beach. Thank you very much for listening to the very first episode of the Shed Talk series here on the Riders Lounge podcast. And I'll throw out a sponsor update right now. Thank you very much to Rothaus Tannenzaepfle for the alcohol-free beers. I haven't had those in the last 24 hours that I've been here on the beach in Barcelona. I've been drinking Spanish beers because that's where I am. I'm on the beach. It was a nice Estrella Galicia. And they definitely weren't alcohol free. But for you guys at home, the alcohol-free beer from Rothaus Tannenzaepfle, it actually has been awesome for me. I love having those beers around so I can go to a party, I can drink as much alcohol-free beers that I want, and I can drive home. How good's that? And I don't have a hangover the next day. That's probably the most important part of it all. But I want to say a huge thanks to them for supporting this podcast from the very start. But apart from that, I want to thank all of you guys for listening over the years. And if it helps at all, if there's any shows going on that you want me to do a review on, a preview on, hell, I'll go down and commentate the damn shows. That is what actually excites me the most. But no, if there's any news that you want to know about, if there's any stories that you haven't got all the info from, let me know. Just email me, steve@invertmanagement.com, or find me on wherever. Instagram, TikTok, whatever. YouTube. Go on premium because I'm on there. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you guys soon.